Welcome back to CVM Live. It's now time for the major stories in detail. The minority leader in the St. Thomas Parish Council has raised several alarms concerning the temporary appointment of Justice Brian Sykes as Chief Justice. He's likened the PM to a dictator.
A broadside attack was launched on Prime Minister Andrew Holness as Councillor Hubert Williams insists the actions of the Prime Minister in the temporary appointment of Justice Sykes to the Chief Justice position is akin to that of a dictatorship.
All dictators start from somewhere. They don't just normally control a country overnight. What they normally do first is to control the judges. And then, if they control the judges, they can make other step towards other things. So today, I am calling upon Prime Minister Andrew Holness to do the right thing. Lead by example. He spoke about accountability. He needs to be. I hear someone say.
He warned if nothing is done to clearly indicate a separation of powers, Jamaica could become like other dictatorships worldwide.
That there is something that Prince Andrew really wants, and he will travel to the end of the world to achieve it. And I have no doubt in my mind that what he wants is to preserve his majority in the St. Thomas Parish Council. No, I'm saying, based on our constitution, there should be a clear separation of power. At no time the executive branch of government should have any power over the judiciary branch of government. If we go down that road, we're going to end up like Zimbabwe, Iran, Saudi Arabia.
He sought to remind the Andrew Holness-led administration that the people will otherwise lose faith in the justice system and that the post of Prime Minister was not an inheritance, but rather a position granted by votes from the people, to whom Mr. Holness is accountable. Nika Lewis, CVM Live.
Doreen Dio, the woman charged with beating her daughter with a machete in a video that went viral, was sentenced in the St. Thomas Parish Court today. CVM Live's Nicoy Wilson has this report. And we'll bring that story back later on in the program. Western Portland Member of Parliament Darrell Vaz and Food for the Poor has stepped in to assist ex-cop Lorenzo McClegon, who had served on the Jamaica Constabulary Force before being shot and left paralyzed. CVM Live's Khadija Thomas has this report.
The Member of Parliament says Food for the Poor has committed to build a home for McClegon so he will be able to live in comfort. He says he was aware of the former cop's situation and plans will be made to facilitate a more mobile lifestyle for him, who served the country for 6 years.
So I'm now at the moment discussing with his family the tenure of the land that they are housed on here, and there are some complications but nothing that cannot be overcome, and to make sure that we have the paperwork to satisfy the Food for the Poor.
Vaz lauded the JCF that had brought the matter to his attention. He says they will be providing financial aid to support McClegon as the pension he has been receiving cannot sustain him.
And we are more than prepared to give a compassionate grant from the Ministry of Labour and Social Security that can go from $50,000 to $100,000 depending on the assessment, and from the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation a housing grant which can go probably up to $200,000, which will help to offset some of the preparation costs from Food for the Poor.
Director of Housing for Food for the Poor, Craig Moss Solomon, says the organization is committed to delivering as promised.
We've seen him in the papers,
Okay.
and we have decided to come. We were requested to come, and we decided that this is something that we had to get involved in. So we've made an initial assessment, come and seen exactly what is the state of his current affairs, how he's living, and we are now going through the process of getting the proper documentation in order to start the process of bringing him back to help.
Meanwhile, Member of Parliament Darrell Vaz says Mr. McGlagan will be sent to hospital for a comprehensive evaluation. Khadija Thomas, CVM Live.
Could Taki be made a national hero? That was one of the concerns raised today in the Senate by opposition Senator Floyd Morris, who put forward a number of reasons the rebel slave should be elevated to this position. Nika Lewis reports.
When the upper house met on Friday to revisit the act concerning the national heroes and other freedom fighters, it may have been a concern on many minds, but Senator Floyd Morris was not leaving anything to chance. He signaled the need for freedom fighter Taki to be made a national hero, something that many segments of society continue to suggest.
I take note that in the listing of the different rebellions, the Morant Bay Rebellion and the Sam Sharp Rebellion and so forth, that all those individuals who led those rebellions have been elevated to national hero status, save and except for Taki. And I want to strongly urge at this time, without even any mention of any research that needs to be done or so forth, the mere fact that Taki fought for gallantly for our freedom, I think that he is deserving of being elevated to national hero.
The opposition senator and St. Mary native went on to explain why he moved the motion to elevate the Akan freedom fighter Taki.
As a St. Marian and one who St. Marian, yes, I firmly believe that he should be accorded national hero for Jamaica. If it is that we have elevated all those who have led the different rebellions to national hero status, let us complete the circle by adding Taki as a national hero.
Nika Lewis, CVM Live.
Persons continue to dump garbage along sections of Walton Park Road and the Chinese Cemetery, even though bins have been provided to dispose of their refuse. CVM Live's Khadija Thomas tells us more.
It is a matter of deepening concern for the St. Andrews Southwestern Member of Parliament, Angela Brown-Burke, who says individuals refuse to use the garbage cans that were provided. Speaking with CVM Live at Jamona Basic School in Kingston on Friday, Brown-Burke says local agencies were invited to speak about issues within the communities, and she decided to take action in curbing the habit.
What we have found is that individuals dump in the garbage cans, but they just dump right outside. What we have found, people who are constructing homes, they bring it and they dump it there. Commercial businesses actually they might pay someone to dump it, whether it's a cokehead man, someone that is mentally ill, or even a child sometimes, and they give them a little money and they just come and they just dump it there.
She says she's not satisfied with the garbage collection process and is calling for garbage collectors to implement workable schedules.
Part of what happens too when you leave it outside is that individuals who are passing, they carry their dead animals and their other garbage and they drop it there, and eventually it gets full beyond its capacity and it then is in and around the bin itself. And it becomes messy. We also have dogs and cats that sometimes, will go in and create a problem as well.
Brown-Burke says this will aid in improving the poor garbage disposal issue that exists. Khadija Thomas, CVM Live.
And we return to an earlier story. Doreen Dow, the woman charged with beating her daughter with a machete in a video that went viral, was sentenced in the St. Thomas Parish Court today. CVM Live's Nicole Wilson has this report.
3 years probation with parental counseling and anger management was the sentence laid down against Doreen Dyer after pleading guilty to charges of cruelty to a child. The sentence was laid down by Justice Lucian Jackson. The sentence was welcomed by her attorney Bertram Anderson, who says he is happy with the judge's decision and that it was in the interest of the child. Mr. Anderson says that this was the first time Ms. Dyer disciplined her child in such a way, a claim that was corroborated by her daughter.
The virtual complainant indicated that this was the first time that her mother was disciplining her to such extent. She revealed that her mother does not normally beat her, but would instead talk to them or take them to the police station to have an officer speak with them.
Mr. Anderson says that the report from Daya's daughter and the social inquiry report is what informed the judge's decision. CVM Live also spoke to Miss Daya, who indicated that she is eager to get back her children and who also told us about the difficulties she has been facing without them.
I've been bad because so one time I'm in bed and my pressure take me, my friend next door have to come around and reach the pressure pill them and give me water. And me one sleep at night time, but when this happening, him stay with me.
Miss Daya also shared with us what she plans to do if she regains custody of her children.
To take care of my kids them. Forgot about father because me never have none from first. But just plan for them go further in an education where me never have. That me always tell them say I want to have me never have in a life. And I would back at them people clock to have that.
Nicoy Wilson, CVM Live.
And we continue our probe series looking at youth football.
As a generality, football in Jamaica is woefully under-resourced, but it's even worse at the youth level. Too often we hear the folks in charge say they have to split the funds made available through the senior team to help keep the youth programs alive, which is ironic because the youth program should be the feeder system to the senior team. Andre Virtue, a former national player and a current head of Ballers International Academy, was not too long ago charged with the responsibility by the JFF of overseeing the youth aspects of Jamaica's football, and he tries to make sense of it.
It is one of those areas where it's not in the limelight. You don't get much rewards and payoff. There's no quick fixes, there's no microwave answers. So at this level, the sun is hot, it's difficult, the funding is not there, and as a result of it, you don't find many people in it, because they want returns and they want returns. And I understand that, but if we're really thinking about really developing something, you have to. And so unfortunately, I don't think the Federation has done enough. I don't think the school system, the club system have done enough. And the main thing is because of resources. We don't have the money, we don't have the whatever, but you have to have a love for the game. You have to have a love for the sport. And I think that is what attracts. That's what brings people, brings parents, brings kids, and then the money follows.
Virtue, who started Ballers International some 15 years ago, says the importance of youth development cannot be overstated. And in his role of National Youth Development Coordinator, he's prepared to even start them as early as 3 years old.
Ultimately, what we're doing is very technically sound, trying to make sure that the players can use all parts of their body to control, manipulate the ball, pass the ball, do everything that they need to do with the ball. And we also add the tactical things because that is another element that is missing. That they're technically could be strong, but if they're not tactically aware, they're going to struggle at the next level. So one of our main things is to focus on ensuring that those two elements, along with the character development and leadership development with our players, we want the players who are ambassadors. So BALLER stands for balance, attitude, love, leadership, ambassador, zeal. And we want coaches, all players to represent that because they're ambassadors for their club, their school, their family, and the country. That's what we want to do. We'll continue to expose them, continue to learn. We haven't perfected it. We're learning, we're understanding, and constantly trying to raise them. And our line is that we're not just coaching the sport, but we're coaching a life through the sport.
And that brings an end to a week where we zoned in on all aspects of the youth game with players, administrators and coaches. And here's hoping we would have at the very least helped to advance the discussions that we really need to have if youth football in Jamaica is to be taken seriously. For the final time for CVM Probe, I'm Wayne Walker.
Time now for regional and international news.
Thanks, Richard. Now for regional news. In Guyana, a High Court judge has sentenced a 46-year-old pastor to 40 years in prison after he was found guilty of having sex with a minor 2 years ago. The mixed jury had found Pastor Andrew Hannibal guilty of committing the offense during the period January 29 to January 30, 2016. Hannibal was convicted of rape after the court heard that a sibling of the virtual complainant awoke and had discovered that the 15-year-old was not in her bed. In Bermuda, Bermuda has reversed marriage equality, with Governor John Ranking finally approving the Domestic Partnership Act 2017 that replaces same-sex marriage with domestic partnerships that can be entered into by both heterosexual and gay couples. Although gay marriage is no longer allowed in Bermuda or on Bermuda-registered cruise ships, same-sex couples already married under Bermuda law will maintain that status. Additionally, any overseas same-sex marriages taking place before the act took effect will also be recognized as marriages in the island and in Antigua. After 2 days behind bars on remand, an Antiguan pilot held in a drug bust at the V.C. Bird International Airport has been released on US $1.7 million bail. As part of his bail conditions, Colin Moraine had to surrender all his travel documents and will only be allowed to leave the country with the court's permission. He must also report to police headquarters daily. His case has been adjourned until April 25. The 31-year-old pilot had been denied bail when he first appeared in court on Monday, charged with possession and exportation of cocaine and being in concern with the supply of cocaine and drug trafficking.
This is News Live in 5, our main story recap and more. Good evening, I'm Joel Crosskill. The minority leader in the St. Thomas Parish Council has raised several alarms concerning the temporary appointment of Justice Brian Sykes as Chief Justice. He likened the PM to a dictator. He warned if nothing is done to clearly indicate a separation of powers, Jamaica could become like other dictatorships worldwide. The race to replace Derek Smith in the St. Andrew Northwestern Division is on in earnest as the PNP unveil their candidate for the seat, Principal of Padmore Primary School Keisha Hale, who will be going up against JLP candidate Dr. Nigel Clark. For the vacant St. Andrew Northwestern seat, Keisha Hale introduced herself to comrades at a recent PNP rally.
We have gone in this constituency in the past week. People come up and ask me, why you choose to throw your hat in the political ring? Well, tonight I'm going to tell you. Me fed up! Who fed up? If you know the way, you have to go the way, you have to show the way, and I'm showing the way tonight. It's time the good people stand up. What did our heroes fight for? What did they die for? We have to stand up.
She explained further why she has become involved in representational politics.
I am representing the new generation of aspiring politicians in Jamaica in the 21st century. And I ask you, the electorate of this dynamic constituency, only one thing. Don't doubt me before you try me. I am tested and I am proven. And I say to you, that before political life, you can know what your candidate going to do in political life. Because before political life, I will give my all for the people.
She literally spelled out her intentions ahead of the March 5th by-election.
S-U-C-C-E-S-S. What is that? Them things that comrades done. Them things that them can continue to trick us. They think they can continue to starve us of what we are supposed to get. I have to stand in the ring because when I walk through this constituency, all I see is suffering. 29 years of suffering.
The Jamaica Railway Corporation has decided to take legal action against the illegal occupants of the People's Arcade in St. James. Speaking at a meeting with the Mayor of Montego Bay along with public health officials and security forces recently, General Manager of the JRC, Fitzroy Williams, says they have received several complaints about insanitary conditions and widespread electricity theft at a section in the area.
When you take everything on board and take everything in mind, it required drastic action, immediate action, serious action by the JRC.
Williams adds that they have identified the location of the occupants and have served notice for them to vacate the property.
The residential occupants in particular have been a major problem for the operations of the facility, but also based on police reports and other reports, it's a haven for illegal activity and lawlessness.
The Jamaica Railway Corporation will be asking the courts to issue a removal order that is expected to be granted by early March. There continues to be analysis of the significance of Wednesday's visit to Jamaica by United States Secretary of State Rex Tillerson. Irvin Forbes has more of Mr. Tillerson's comments after his meeting with Prime Minister Andrew Holness.
Mr. Tillerson wasted no time in placing Jamaica in a context of value to the U.S.
This stop, I think, is important because Jamaica is our closest partner in this region. The United States understands the importance of that our security and prosperity are very closely tied to that of our Caribbean neighbors, and we're glad to have the partner we have in Jamaica. And I noted that the Prime Minister is assuming the chairmanship of CARICOM, and so I think it made our discussions even that much more timely and useful.
While the situation in Venezuela is currently dominating U.S. regional relations, the Secretary underscored commitment to helping Jamaica tackle crime.
We appreciate the Jamaica government's commitment to countering narcotics trafficking and transnational criminal organizations and the cooperation that we already enjoy, but we also see many opportunities to enhance that cooperation to be even more effective in disrupting these illegal organizations. We appreciate the government of Jamaica has made important progress combating the lotto scams, cooperating closely with U.S. authorities to extradite suspected lotto scammers.
There has been much speculation whether Jamaica abstained in the United Nations vote on Jerusalem because the government didn't want to risk losing aid from a tough-talking U.S. administration. Secretary Tillerson was asked about the threats of cutting aid.
The U.S. sees many opportunities for furthering cooperation on trade, for strengthening our security cooperation, and most particularly for combating these transnational criminal organizations that bring nothing but problems and violence and devastation to Jamaica and the region, but also certainly to the homeland for the United States.
Irvin Forbes, CVM Live.
That's News Live in 5. Stand by.